In a world where our attention is constantly being pulled in multiple directions, understanding the invisible forces that influence our thoughts, emotions, and actions has never been more crucial. Welcome to Video 5 in our Reality Transurfing Fundamentals Series, where we build upon our previous exploration of pendulums, those powerful energy information structures created and sustained by collective thought. If you've ever felt drained after scrolling through social media, found yourself caught in arguments that seem to come from nowhere, or noticed how quickly mass hysteria can spread through a population, you've experienced pendulums at work. These energy entities aren't merely abstract concepts. They represent real forces that can dramatically alter your life trajectory, often without your conscious awareness. In our last session, we introduced the concept of pendulums and how they operate. Today, we'll dive deeper into practical strategies that will help you identify when you're being manipulated, techniques to break free from their influence, and methods to protect your energy field from future intrusions. This knowledge isn't just theoretical, it's a fundamental life skill for navigating the complex energy landscape of the modern world. By the end of this video, you'll possess powerful tools to recognize pendulum influence, neutralize their effect on your life, and reclaim the energy that rightfully belongs to you. Let's begin this journey toward greater awareness and authentic freedom. The nature of pendulums, the mechanics of energy harvesting. To effectively counter pendulums, we must first understand how they operate at a fundamental level. Pendulums aren't conscious entities with malicious intent. Rather, they function like automated energy systems that have evolved sophisticated mechanisms for ensuring their survival and growth. Every pendulum begins with a simple idea or concept that resonates with multiple people. As individuals direct their attention toward this concept, whether it's a political movement, religious ideology, fashion trend, or even a sports team, they contribute energy to the pendulum structure. This collective energy gives the pendulum its power and momentum. Once established, a pendulum develops self-preservation instincts. It will automatically seek to maintain its frequency. Each pendulum operates at a specific energy frequency, and it works to keep its adherents vibrating at that same frequency. Expand its influence. Pendulums constantly seek new sources of energy by drawing more people into their field. Dominate competing pendulums. Different pendulums often compete for the same energy resources, your attention and emotional investment. Evolve strategies that ensure continued energy supply. The more sophisticated a pendulum becomes, the more nuanced its energy-gathering techniques. Modern pendulums have mastered the art of engagement, creating content, controversies, and experiences specifically designed to maximize emotional response and attention. Why pendulums are so effective at manipulation. Pendulums possess several advantages that make them formidable forces in our lives. They operate beyond conscious awareness. Most people remain unaware of how pendulums influence their decisions, making it impossible to defend against a force you don't recognize. They exploit fundamental human psychology. Pendulums are perfectly attuned to our psychological triggers, our need for belonging, fear of missing out, desire for certainty, and tendency toward tribalism. They create the illusion of free choice. Even while controlling your behavior, pendulums maintain the illusion that you're acting of your own volition. They adapt rapidly. When one strategy stops working, pendulums quickly evolve new techniques to maintain their energy supply. They exist across multiple dimensions. Pendulums operate simultaneously in the physical, emotional, and mental planes, creating multi-layered systems of influence that are difficult to escape. The most powerful pendulums have evolved over centuries, gathering momentum and refining their strategies. From ancient religious institutions to modern social media platforms, these energy structures have become masterful at harvesting human attention and emotion. The trap. Identifying pendulum hooks and triggers. The primary mechanisms of control. Pendulums rely on several key mechanisms to hook into your energy field and establish control. Being able to recognize these strategies is your first line of defense. 1. Conflict triggers. Perhaps the most efficient energy harvesting strategy, conflict instantly raises emotional intensity and investment. Pendulums deliberately create opposition and division through polarizing topics, presenting complex issues as simple binary choices. Us versus them narratives, creating clear in-groups and out-groups. Righteousness triggers, activating your sense of moral superiority. Victimhood scenarios, making you feel unfairly treated or attacked. When you're engaged in conflict, you radiate tremendous energy at the pendulum's frequency. Notice how political and ideological pendulums have mastered the art of keeping their adherents in perpetual conflict, constantly outraged and ready to defend their position. 2. Fear and anxiety loops. Fear represents one of the most reliable energy sources for pendulums. Through fear, they can create constant vigilance, keeping you on high alert, scanning for threats. Establish uncertainty, making the world seem unpredictable and dangerous. Promote catastrophic thinking, encouraging worst-case scenario rumination. Induce anticipatory anxiety, getting you to worry about potential future events. Media pendulums are particularly skilled at fear manipulation, presenting a constant stream of threats, crises, and dangers. The human brain's negativity bias makes us especially vulnerable to fear-based pendulum hooks. 3. Guilt and obligation strings. Guilt represents another reliable energy source that pendulums exploit through impossible standards, creating ideals that cannot realistically be met. Shame induction, making you feel inadequate or flawed. Responsibility transfers, placing burdens on you that aren't yours to carry. Social pressure, using group expectations to enforce compliance. Family pendulums frequently operate through guilt mechanisms, as do religious and cultural pendulums that have established rigid codes of conduct and responsibility. 4. Identity and belonging, attachments. Humans have a fundamental need to belong and to know who they are, which pendulums exploit through tribal identity, offering clear group membership and identity. Status hierarchies, providing ways to measure your position and worth. Recognition systems, rewarding compliance with acknowledgement and praise. Exclusivity mechanisms, creating special categories of belonging. From social clubs to professional organizations, from political parties to religious communities, pendulums offer the comfort of clear identity and belonging, but at the cost of your energy and autonomy. 5. Habits and complexes. Personal psychological patterns serve as ready-made gateways for pendulum influence. Insecurity triggers, activating your feelings of inadequacy. Validation needs, exploiting your desire for external confirmation. Achievement pressure, using your need to prove yourself. Comparison tendencies, triggering your habit of measuring yourself against others. These personal complexes often form in childhood, but continue providing pendulums with access points throughout your life unless consciously addressed. The social media pendulum. To illustrate how these mechanisms work together, consider the social media pendulum, one of the most sophisticated energy harvesting systems ever developed. It creates conflict through algorithmic promotion of divisive content. It generates anxiety through constant comparison and fear of missing out. It establishes obligation through social reciprocity and notification systems. It offers identity through profile creation and community membership. It exploits personal complexes through quantified validation, likes, followers. The brilliance of this pendulum lies in its ability to simultaneously hook into multiple aspects of human psychology while maintaining the illusion of choice and control. Users believe they're freely expressing themselves while the pendulum harvests unprecedented amounts of emotional and mental energy. How to know you've been hooked. How can you tell when a pendulum has successfully attached to your energy field? Watch for these telltale signs. Emotional amplification. Your emotions escalate quickly and intensely. Thought loops. Your mind gets stuck in repetitive thinking patterns. Time distortion. Hours pass without awareness. Time sinks. Energy drainage. You feel inexplicably tired after certain activities. Compulsive behavior. You feel unable to stop or disengage. Identity fusion. You can't separate yourself from the issue group. Defensive reactions. You become immediately defensive when the pendulum is questioned. This heightened awareness of pendulum hooks represents your first step toward freedom. Each time you notice these signs, you've created a moment of choice that wasn't available to you before. Understanding what pendulums take from you. 1. Energy depletion and its consequences. The most immediate cost of pendulum influence is energy depletion. When pendulums harvest your energy, they leave you with less vital force for creative endeavors, the ability to generate and execute your own ideas. Personal relationships, meaningful connection with those you care about. Health maintenance, the body's natural healing and regulatory functions. Mental clarity, clear thinking and decision-making capabilities. Emotional regulation, the ability to maintain balanced emotional states. Spiritual growth, connection to higher awareness and purpose. This energy theft doesn't merely leave you tired, it fundamentally diminishes your capacity to live as the architect of your own existence. Many people go through life perpetually drained because they're unwittingly feeding multiple pendulums simultaneously. Life track deterioration. Beyond immediate energy loss, consistent pendulum influence can shift you onto increasingly negative life tracks. In transurfing terms, reality exists as a spectrum of parallel possibilities, different lifelines where various versions of your life unfold. Pendulums consistently move you toward lifelines characterized by increased obstacle density, more problems, challenges, and roadblocks, diminished opportunity access, fewer positive potentials and possibilities, relationship deterioration, more conflict, misunderstanding, and isolation, resource limitation, reduced access to what you need for growth and well-being, heightened suffering, more physical, emotional, and mental discomfort. This deterioration often happens gradually, making it difficult to perceive. Like the proverbial frog in slowly heating water, people frequently don't notice their reality worsening until they're firmly established on deeply negative lifelines. Real-world manifestations. The abstract concept of lifeline deterioration manifests in very concrete ways. Health impacts. Chronic stress from pendulum engagement triggers inflammatory responses, hormonal imbalances, and immune system suppression, contributing to actual physical illness. Relationship breakdown. As pendulums consume your attention and emotional energy, personal relationships suffer from neglect and transference of pendulum-generated negativity. Financial consequences. Pendulum-influenced decisions often prioritize emotional reaction over rational assessment, leading to poor financial choices. Career limitations. Energy depletion reduces work performance, creativity, and professional development capacity. Psychological narrowing. Your mental and emotional landscape becomes increasingly constricted, with fewer positive states accessible. The most insidious aspect of this deterioration is its self-reinforcing nature. The worse your life circumstances become, the more vulnerable you are to pendulum influence, creating a downward spiral that can continue indefinitely without intervention. Loss of authentic purpose. Perhaps the greatest cost of pendulum domination is the divergence from your authentic life purpose. Each person possesses unique potential expressions, what transurfing calls your soul's purpose, or what might be considered your authentic contribution. When pendulums dictate your priorities, values, and choices, you increasingly live someone else's life rather than your own. People often reach middle or late life with the haunting realization that they've never truly lived according to their own inner guidance. They've merely responded to external forces. This existential cost cannot be measured in conventional terms, but represents perhaps the most profound loss a human can experience, the forfeiture of one's authentic existence. Strategies for breaking free from pendulums. Awareness consciousness represents the most fundamental tool for pendulum liberation. Without awareness, no other strategy can be effectively implemented. Here's how to develop the necessary awareness. Practicing present moment consciousness. Begin by strengthening your ability to remain present rather than caught in mental projections or emotional reactions. Regular consciousness checks. Set random reminders throughout your day to ask, am I fully present right now? Physical anchoring. Use physical sensations, feeling your feet on the ground, your breath, or your hands to pull yourself into present moment awareness. Environmental cues. Place visual reminders, small stickers, symbols, or objects in your environment that prompt you to check your awareness level when noticed. Transition awareness. Pay special attention during transitions between activities, which offer natural opportunities to reset your awareness. The more you practice presence, the more quickly you'll notice when a pendulum begins its attempt to capture your attention. Developing pendulum recognition skills. Learn to identify pendulum influence in real time. Energy awareness. Notice when your energy suddenly changes, either through activation, anger, excitement, outrage, or depletion, exhaustion, heaviness, fog. Thought pattern monitoring. Observe when your thinking becomes circular, obsessive, or noticeably negative, especially around specific topics. Emotional signature identification. Each pendulum creates characteristic emotional patterns. Learn to recognize the specific emotional fingerprint of different pendulums in your life. Physical response tracking. Notice physical sensations that accompany pendulum activation. Tension patterns, breathing changes, posture shifts. Linguistic markers. Pay attention to language that signals pendulum influence. Absolutes, always, never, villainization, victimhood narratives, or righteousness indicators. As your recognition skills develop, the gap between pendulum activation and your awareness of it will shrink, giving you increasing opportunities to choose your response rather than react automatically. The observer perspective. Cultivate the ability to observe yourself and situations from a detached viewpoint. Mental step back. Practice mentally stepping back from situations to observe them as if watching a movie or play. The witness practice. Develop your capacity to witness thoughts and emotions without identifying with them. I notice anger arising rather than I am angry. Perspective questions. Ask yourself, how would this look to someone who isn't emotionally involved? Or how might I view this situation 5 years from now? Third-person narration. Mentally narrate what's happening as if describing someone else's experience. This observer perspective creates crucial space between the pendulum's influence and your response, allowing you to make conscious choices rather than automatic reactions. B. Indifference. The power of non-reaction. Once you've developed sufficient awareness to recognize pendulum influence, indifference becomes your most powerful response strategy. True indifference isn't suppression or avoidance, but rather a state of genuine non-engagement with the pendulum's energy. The nature of true indifference. Indifference in transurfing differs from conventional understandings. It isn't apathy, lack of feeling. It isn't suppression, pushing down emotion. It isn't avoidance, running from engagement. It isn't resistance, fighting against. True indifference is a state where the pendulum's provocations simply don't register as significant or worthy of your energy, like background noise that doesn't demand attention. Cultivating genuine indifference. Develop your capacity for indifference through these practices. Importance reduction. Consciously reduce the importance you assign to pendulum triggers by asking, will this matter in a month, a year, 5 years? Energy conservation awareness. When tempted to react, remind yourself, this reaction costs energy I could use elsewhere. Conscious permission. Give yourself explicit permission to not care about things that don't serve your authentic path. Proportion practice. Mentally place the triggering issue in proper proportion to your entire life and the universe as a whole. Referee perspective. Imagine watching the situation as a neutral referee rather than an involved participant. The art of indifference takes practice. Begin with smaller pendulums before attempting indifference toward those that have historically held the strongest grip on you. The Indifference Response Toolkit. When you notice pendulum activation, implement these tactical responses. Neutral acknowledgement. Mentally note, pendulum detected without judgment or reaction. Energy containment. Imagine your energy field becoming contained and unavailable to the pendulum. Attention redirection. Gently but firmly move your attention to something neutral or positive. Non-reaction delay. If complete indifference isn't possible, implement a delay before responding. Even 90 seconds can diffuse the initial energy charge. Script interruption. Do something unexpected that breaks the predictable pattern of engagement. Remember that indifference isn't passive, it's an active choice to conserve your energy for what truly matters to you. C. Focus shifting. Redirecting your energy. When indifference proves challenging, consciously redirecting your focus provides an alternative strategy for breaking pendulum influence. Strategic redirection techniques. Positive alternatives. Maintain a mental list of positive focus points you can immediately shift to when you notice pendulum activation. Productive distraction. Engage in activities that require full attention, leaving no mental bandwidth for pendulum engagement. Nature immersion. Connect with natural environments which operate at frequencies incompatible with most artificial pendulums. Creative engagement. Channel energy into creative expression rather than pendulum reaction. Service focus. Redirect attention toward helping others, which transforms potential negative energy into positive contribution. The key to successful redirection lies in preparation. Having predetermined positive focal points ready before pendulum activation occurs. The alternative frequency method. Every pendulum operates at a specific energetic frequency. By intentionally attunement to different frequencies, you make yourself invisible to particular pendulums. Gratitude frequency. Cultivating genuine thankfulness places you at a frequency where many negative pendulums cannot reach you. Appreciation vibration. Actively appreciating beauty, kindness, or excellence shifts your energetic signature. Compassion resonance. Generating authentic compassion, including self-compassion, creates a protective field around your energy. Creative flow state. Engaging in activities that induce flow states creates temporary immunity to many pendulum influences. Presence practice. Deep presence in the current moment eliminates the mental projections most pendulums require for attachment. By consciously choosing your energetic frequency, you essentially become unavailable on the channels where destructive pendulums operate. D. Playing your own game. Strategic engagement. Sometimes complete avoidance of pendulums is impossible or impractical, particularly with family, work, or societal pendulums that are deeply integrated into your life. In these cases, learning to play your own game while appearing to participate provides an effective alternative. Conscious participation. Without identification. Role consciousness. Mentally frame your participation as playing a temporary role rather than expressing your true self. Energy conservation. Participate outwardly while maintaining inner awareness and energy containment. Engagement boundaries. Establish clear internal guidelines about what level of engagement you'll permit. Strategic compliance. Consciously choose when to comply with pendulum demands based on your own criteria rather than automatic reaction. Identity separation. Maintain a clear distinction between your authentic self and the persona that interacts with the pendulum. This approach allows you to function effectively in pendulum-dominated environments without surrendering your inner autonomy. E. Humor and imagination. Humor represents one of the most underestimated tools for pendulum liberation. When you can laugh at a situation or at yourself, you instantly shift to a frequency incompatible with many destructive pendulums. The transformative power of humor. Pattern interruption. Humor immediately breaks the expected emotional pattern pendulums rely upon. Perspective shift. Comedy creates instant perspective, revealing the absurdity of situations we might otherwise take too seriously. Energy transmutation. Laughter transforms potentially negative energy into positive experience. Pendulum confusion. Humorous responses confuse pendulums that expect predictable reactions. Group liberation. Shared humor can simultaneously free multiple people from pendulum influence. Developing the ability to find genuine humor in challenging situations provides a powerful tool for instant pendulum neutralization. Imaginative reframing techniques. Your imagination offers limitless possibilities for transforming pendulum experiences. Character reframing. Mentally recasting intimidating figures as comical characters. Theatrical perspective. Viewing tense situations as scenes in a play or movie. Future telling. Imagining how you'll tell this story humorously years from now. Absurd exaggeration. Mentally exaggerating the situation to highlight its absurdity. Alternative universe. Imagining how this scenario might play out in a completely different reality. These imaginative techniques aren't mere escapism. They're practical tools that instantly change your relationship to potential pendulum triggers. Advanced strategies. When you can't ignore the pendulum. Navigating unavoidable pendulums. Some pendulum interactions cannot be avoided, particularly those connected to essential aspects of your life. In these cases, more sophisticated strategies become necessary. Professional environment navigation. Workplace pendulums often present particular challenges. Value alignment identification. Find aspects of the workplace pendulum that genuinely align with your values. Purpose overlay. Consciously overlay your own purpose onto required activities. Influence from within. Work to gradually shift the pendulum toward healthier expressions while participating. Strategic compliance. Distinguish between essential compliance and optional engagement. Energy protection practices. Implement specific before-work and after-work practices that maintain your energetic integrity. These approaches allow you to function effectively in professional environments without surrendering your autonomy or depleting your energy. Family system management. Family pendulums often have the deepest hooks due to their lifelong influence. Behavioral pattern recognition. Identify the specific reactive patterns that have developed within your family's system. Role renegotiation. Consciously work to modify your established role within the family pendulum. Boundary establishment. Create clear but compassionate boundaries around your energy and involvement. Trigger preparation. Develop specific strategies for common family triggers before encounters. Compassionate perspective. Maintain awareness of how family members are themselves caught in the pendulum. Family systems can evolve, but change typically requires sustained awareness and consistent application of new response patterns. Societal pendulum navigation. The largest pendulums operate at societal levels, political, economic, and cultural systems that seemingly cannot be avoided. Conscious media consumption. Strictly limit and carefully select information sources. Narrative awareness. Identify the dominant narratives and consciously evaluate their validity. Local focus. Direct energy toward immediate community rather than distant abstractions. Contributive rather than reactive engagement. Choose participation based on positive contribution rather than opposition. Parallel systems. When possible, build and participate in alternative systems that better align with your values. Complete avoidance of societal pendulums is rarely possible, but conscious navigation can dramatically reduce their impact on your energy and life path. The art of empathic disengagement. Perhaps the most sophisticated approach to unavoidable pendulums involves maintaining genuine compassion while preserving energetic boundaries. Understanding without absorption. Cognitive empathy. Understand others' perspectives without taking on their emotional states. Compassionate distance. Maintain caring awareness without energetic merging. Separate responsibility. Clearly distinguish between understanding someone and taking responsibility for their experience. Influence without attachment. Offer positive influence while releasing attachment to outcomes. Energetic boundaries. Maintain clear energetic differentiation between yourself and others' emotional states. This balanced approach allows meaningful human connection without the energy depletion of pendulum entanglement. Visualization techniques for challenging encounters. Specific visualization practices can transform potential pendulum situations. Light shield. Imagine yourself surrounded by protective light that allows positive exchange while blocking pendulum hooks. Energy field integrity. Visualize your energy field as distinct and well-maintained when interacting with strong pendulums. Heart connection. Establish connection at the heart level rather than the personality level during difficult interactions. Future self perspective. View challenging situations through the eyes of your wiser future self. Higher perspective viewing. Imagine observing the interaction from a higher dimension where the pendulum's limited perspective becomes apparent. These visualization techniques aren't merely psychological, they create actual energetic conditions that reduce pendulum influence. How to avoid the pendulum vortex. Recognizing early warning signs. Pendulum entanglement typically begins with subtle cues before developing into full engagement. Learning to recognize these early signs allows intervention before significant energy loss occurs. The initial hooks. Emotional flickers. Brief emotional reactions that seem disproportionate to the trigger. Attention magnets. Topics or situations that repeatedly draw your attention without clear reason. Energy shifts. Subtle changes in your energy level when certain subjects arise. Thought loops. Early-stage repetitive thinking patterns about specific topics. Justification impulses. The sudden urge to explain or defend positions. These early warning signs provide the optimal opportunity for intervention before the pendulum establishes stronger connection. Breaking the escalation cycle. Pendulums typically follow predictable escalation patterns. Initial trigger leads to emotional response, then thought elaboration leads to strengthened emotion, which leads to action, then commitment, which then leads to identity formation. Intervention at any point breaks this cycle, but earlier intervention requires less energy. Trigger awareness. Recognize and neutralize reactions at the initial trigger point. Thought interruption. Consciously interrupt elaborative thinking about the trigger. Emotion management. Address emotional responses before they drive action. Action delay. Implement cooling-off periods before taking pendulum-driven actions. Commitment review. Reassess commitments made under pendulum influence. Understanding this escalation pattern allows you to recognize precisely where you are in the cycle and apply appropriate intervention. Building pendulum immunity. Beyond reactive strategies, you can proactively build resistance to pendulum influence. Daily practices for energy protection. Morning intention setting. Begin each day by consciously determining where you'll direct your energy. Energy accounting. Regularly assess where your energy is going and make conscious adjustments. Meditation practice. Develop regular meditation that strengthens your observer perspective. Nature connection. Establish consistent contact with natural environments that reset your energy field. Gratitude discipline. Maintain daily gratitude practice that strengthens positive frequency attunement. Sacred space creation. Establish physical locations specifically maintained as pendulum-free zones. Supportive community. Cultivate relationships with others who understand and respect energy dynamics. These proactive practices gradually strengthen your energetic integrity, making pendulum attachment increasingly difficult. Information diet management. Modern information environments are deliberately designed as pendulum feeding grounds. Consumption auditing. Regularly review what information you're consuming and its effect on your energy. Designated disconnection. Establish regular periods completely free from informational input. Quality filtering. Implement strict quality standards for information sources. Delayed engagement. Practice waiting periods before engaging with triggering information. Purpose-driven consumption. Limit information intake to what serves your authentic purposes. Information isn't neutral. It carries energetic signatures that can strengthen or weaken your pendulum immunity. Building your pendulum freedom practice daily awareness training. Exercise 1. Consciousness checkpoints. Set 5 to 7 random timers throughout your day. When each timer sounds, ask, am I fully present right now? What has my attention been focused on? Is this focus aligned with my authentic intentions? Am I vibrating at my natural frequency or a pendulum frequency? Take 3 conscious breaths. Realign your energy if necessary. Journal notable observations at day's end. Exercise 2. Pendulum inventory. Create a list of all pendulums currently active in your life. For each pendulum, identify how it typically hooks your attention, what emotional reactions it commonly triggers, how much energy you estimate it consumes, what benefit, if any, you receive from engagement. Categorize each as necessary to engage with, optional but potentially beneficial, purely draining with no benefit. Develop specific strategies for each category. Indifference. Practice exercise 3. Graduated exposure training. Begin with low-intensity pendulums. Deliberately expose yourself to the trigger. Practice maintaining neutral awareness. Note your success level from 1 to 10. Gradually work up to stronger pendulums as your skills improve. Exercise 4. The importance reduction practice. When triggered by a pendulum, ask, on a scale of 1-100, how important is this really? Will this matter in a week, a month, a year? Is this worth the energy it's consuming? Who benefits from my emotional involvement here? Consciously adjust the importance level to a more appropriate number. Notice how your energy and emotional state shift with this adjustment. Focus training exercise 5. Positive focus anchors. Create a list of 5 to 10 positive focus points that genuinely engage your interest. Develop anchors for each: images, physical objects, phrases, or gestures. When you notice pendulum activation, immediately recognize the pendulum influence. Deliberately disengage attention. Activate your positive focus anchor. Fully engage with the alternative focus. Practice this sequence until it becomes automatic. Exercise 6. The 90-second reset. When triggered by a pendulum, set a timer for 90 seconds. Commit to no action during this period. Observe your thoughts and feelings without judgment. Focus on physical sensations rather than mental narrative. After 90 seconds, reassess whether engagement is necessary. This practice utilizes the natural emotional biochemical cycle, which typically completes within 90 seconds, if not mentally prolonged. Conclusion. The battle for your energy isn't just philosophical. It's perhaps the most practical concern in your daily existence. Every moment, pendulums compete for your limited attention and emotional investment, seeking to direct your life force toward their own perpetuation rather than your authentic fulfillment. In this session, we've explored comprehensive strategies for recognizing, neutralizing, and ultimately freeing yourself from destructive pendulum influence. Cultivate awareness as your fundamental defense, developing the capacity to recognize pendulum influence in real time. Practice genuine indifference, understanding that pendulums feed on both positive and negative engagement. Redirect your focus when indifference proves challenging, consciously choosing where your attention goes. Learn to play your own game when pendulums cannot be avoided, maintaining inner sovereignty while outwardly participating. Use humor and imagination to break pendulum patterns and shift energy dynamics. Develop advanced strategies for unavoidable pendulums, particularly in professional, family, and societal contexts. Implement prevention practices that strengthen your energy field against future pendulum attachment. Establish daily practices that build your capacity for pendulum freedom over time. This knowledge represents more than just personal development. It's a fundamental reassertion of your right to determine the course of your own existence. Each time you successfully disconnect from a pendulum's influence, you reclaim not just energy, but the very authorship of your life. Looking forward, as you implement these strategies, you'll likely notice several significant shifts. Increased energy and vitality as less life force is drained by external entities. Greater clarity about what truly matters to you versus borrowed concerns. Improved ability to maintain focus on your authentic goals and purposes. Enhanced relationship quality as you bring less pendulum-generated negativity to interactions. More consistent access to positive emotional states. Accelerated progress toward your genuine life goals. A growing sense of inner freedom and sovereignty. In our next session, we'll build upon this foundation by exploring the transurfing rule. How to give yourself permission to be yourself and live authentically, regardless of external expectations or pressures. This rule represents the natural extension of pendulum freedom, as you not only break free from external energy structures, but begin actively creating according to your own unique design. Remember, pendulums only have the power you give them. Wake up, reclaim your energy, and choose your own path.